Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for the 24th Annual SF Indie Fest. I'm joined here today by the filmmakers in the shorts program Rising Up, which will have an in-person screening at the Roxy Theater on Sunday, February 4th at 4:45 p.m. Thank you so much to all the filmmakers who are here who allowed us to share these impactful stories that look at kind of the state of the world that we're in, either through a lens of looking back through the past or personal experiences through their subjects of the past few years that we've lived through. We're going to kick it off by just introducing the filmmakers and hearing a little bit about the films that they have presented here and kind of what their inspiration was behind them. And we're going to start off with Ryan Thurston.
Hello, hello. My name is Ryan Thurston. I'm 30 years old. I'm from Oakland, California. I went to college in Philadelphia, Temple University, where I kind of got my initial hands on, film production, things in that nature. And I am the director. My co-director is here with me, Alexia, and yeah, we made this film Self in 2020, and it was just kind of a culmination in a way it came about as a way for just me to express things I was feeling at the time, and a bunch of other stories of how people were feeling in moments they had that kind of gave me comfort, knowing that, oh, you felt this too, I felt this, we felt this, it was like the whole shared isolation and just shared feeling, I think, that we all couldn't describe. And the cinematographer and DP Bentley, we were good friends and met on an actual commercial shoot and always wanted to work together. And yeah, I was telling him, I kind of pitched the idea kind of loosely, and then he very much pushed me, and Alexia helped push me too. And as I was going through my feelings and what I was experiencing, the ups and downs of that year, kind of help write it. Not necessarily just me, but just a way to synthesize this thing. I don't know. And it's really made as a feeling that people watch, and then I guess whatever moments they connect with. And that was the sense and why I made it and what the purpose was.
Thank you so much. Hi, Alexia. Thank you for joining us also. Do you want to speak about kind of your way into creating Self?
Yeah, definitely. Hi, my name is Alexia Sundra, and I'm the co-director and production designer of Self. And this is Maverick, the cat. I think what I liked exploring the most in Self was the kind of non-linearness that we were all feeling in 2020. Days started to be the same, and it was kind of isolating. But also, you ended up spending a lot more time on the internet, so it got bigger in a way. So you're seeing more stuff, but also not experiencing a lot of stuff, and that got dizzying. So I think what was really fun for me was exploring that through different visual moments. And I really like production design. So just making the room change over time and making the world just seem more and more flustered and dreamy was kind of how I was coping during that time.
Thank you so much. It's such an important portrait of a moment that you both were able to capture. So thank you for putting your hearts out there and sharing this with us. Matt, thank you so much. Matthew, hi. Do you want to speak a little bit about your film, which is very much so external, right? In the streets, up in it.
Yeah.
And we're also joined by Cameron, who is the star of Matthew's short.
So my name is Matthew, and I want to thank you first for having our films in your festival and putting the festival on, and all the audiences watching the festivals, because this is why we do it, is to inspire and entertain and make change. And so I live in Oakland, California, and I was inspired by the last administration to make my film, the last U.S. administration, i.e. the Trump administration. and all the hate that they were fueling into the world. And I wanted to create a solution, an answer to that. And I thought, well, we need more love in the world. Um, and so I went about putting this script together and thought about something that would inspire me. And back in 2008, I was a part of the No on 8 campaign for the LGBTQ community and the fight for marriage equality. And this film is based on my protest that happened at the Grand Lake Theater and the Grand Lake Theater area back in 2008 when my neighbor and I were assaulted by a bunch of Mormons who were against marriage equality. And so I assembled about 250, 300 people to push them out of the Lake Merritt area. And this is what that's about, basically. And Cameron is a fantastic actor in Median.
Thank you so much. Cameron, do you want to speak to how you became attached to the project and what it kind of meant for you to get to embody this heart changer in a lot of ways?
I would love to. First off, I want to say that I'm so thankful to be able to share this space with all you amazing artists and human beings. So thank you for that. And thank you for everybody who came out to support and watch these films. That means a lot to all of us. I've been wanting to work with Matthew for quite a long time. We've known each other for a few years now. And we've always been like, man, at some point, we've got to work together. We're going to find a project. We're going to get it done. And, years go on. And he approached me with this project and he explained it the way he just explained it to all of you. And, as an artist, every role that you take is important. Every role matters. To be truthful, when a role like this comes across that where it's based on a real event, based on a real actual person, and something that's important as, being able to love who you want to love, you don't pass those opportunities up. And it meant a lot to me that Matthew trusted me with a role like this, because it's not an easy role. And you have to take it, you have to realize how important it is that you play this role authentic and it comes across true. And I'm very thankful that he allowed me to do that. And it meant a lot to me to be able to play this in the Bay Area. I'm from Sacramento, but I lived in Oakland for 10 years. So, the Bay is definitely my second home. So it meant a great deal to me to be able to play a role like this. And hopefully it came across.
Thank you so much. Also Sacto, yep.
Hey, 916.
Hello, Jules and Satchel. Thank you so much for joining us today. Could you speak a little bit about your film and kind of your process? I think this might be the most experimental that we were able to include in the program, which is really lovely to see kind of different mix of mediums there.
Yeah, again, thanks for having us. Really honored to be part of this showcase. Everyone's films are amazing, and feel really honored to be amongst fantastic artists. Yeah, so Dedicated to Those Who is actually the name of Satchel, otherwise known as Baghead's album. And so the short film originally was a music video of sorts. And then in discussions with Satchel about what this album meant to them and also things that were coming up in our community, it turned into this experimental doc project / music video that I think was both, speaking to these themes that were coming up in Satchel's album about like, what is the purpose of this moment? And these other questions around community, and then also through my own like organizing work and both of us being from the city, questions of like, what have we already been doing for years, and using found footage of past political moments in San Francisco, while also looking at young folks who are on the front lines and inspiring, the future of San Francisco as well. And yeah, that's, I guess, my take on the project. Satchel, I don't know if you want to speak to that too.
Yeah, I'm a producer, so the album itself was an instrumental album. So I had my intention and conceptually, because it's just instrumental, it's open-ended. But my intention behind it was to explore the role of the artist when it comes to like revolution, love, and community, and how those intersect and how they play out looking at the past and looking at my present and what I see around me. And Jules is someone that I've worked with in the past, someone I believe in. And I don't have much experience in creating film. So the outcome has to do with Jules interpreting and bringing in their own life to what I spoke about. So that was really impressive. So a big shout out to them. And the album, like I said, Artistry, Revolution, Community, that was the wide spectrum. And so with the film, we wanted to narrow it down to San Francisco and how that connected to the larger narrative of revolution and resistance. But in San Francisco, the theme would be gentrification, right? Globally, we face all the isms, and so does San Francisco. And so wanting to create that bridge and then specifically focusing on how gentrification represents those isms. And so we wanted to express and create a visual for what people who grew up in San Francisco or have been here for a long time understood old San Francisco to be, what their worries and joys of the present San Francisco were, and what their worries and hope was for the future San Francisco. And so the main way we did that was through interviews, but with Jules' skill, we were able to create a visual for that as well. So it was a pleasure. And thank you to everyone who's here for your great work, and happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, definitely a picture of the city that was incredibly special to share. Thank you. And Shandaya, excuse me, your film, I think, is the one, aside from Self, which I think have some similar themes and tone, feels to be the most inward, yet the most prescient, especially in the moment that we're living in. Global pandemic aside, we are having a reckoning about the way that Black and Brown people have been attacked by police. And I think that your film really touches upon an internal sense of anxiety as a result of the murder of Breonna Taylor. I was hoping you could speak a little bit about your process with your film. And it's just such a special, intimate portrait. So thank you.
Thank you so much. 2020 was, a pretty big year. And it's crazy because I feel like so much comes up and I even feel a little bit emotional right now. But I'll redirect and say it's really awesome that we get to do this and see each other's faces, because I was thinking about it, if we were doing a Q&A live, I probably wouldn't get to see everyone. And so really happy to share this space with everyone and get to see you. I think the genesis of Kiana came for me over the summer of 2020. My father has some kidney complications, and he and my mother were moving, and it was just kind of a time where I could go back home to Florida and help them with that move. And it was during the time where there were a lot of protests and a lot of activism happening in Oakland, which is where I was living at the time. And I felt so separate from everything that was happening around me and back home. And sorry, there was just a lot of pain from 2020 that really affected me. And I think obviously when I found out about Breonna, it just made me feel like, what if that happened to me or people that I loved? And to just think that there's a world where there's any sort of justification for that, it still just breaks my heart. But I think there was a lot of healing with me being around my family during that time, when before that I was, thrown into remote school, a lot of isolation. My partner and I being in a very small apartment, a very small and expensive apartment in Oakland, and both of us being unemployed. when we were both working students. And there was just a lot of compoundness that being around my family during the summer of 2020, I think helped me get to a place where I had to figure out how to express what was happening to us. And so Kiana is me. She's every Black woman who is just trying to live. And this film is so special to me. I got to work with so many amazing women and non-binary and queer people in the Bay Area that I've always respected. To the point where like there was so much amazingness happening on set and a lot of power, especially from my actress, Jasmine, who I really wish could have been here today. And she and I ended up sharing such a connectiveness as well that, you know, I'll forever be grateful to this project and to this film. And I'll always pray for Brianna's family, for George's family, for Ahmad's family, everyone. So.
Thank you so much. I have no words for how personal that story is and how impactful it comes across on screen. So thank you for sharing that with us. Tom, hello. I think an interesting thing about your film is definitely it makes us look back at the fallibility of this government and that time period as a reminder of ongoing hatred that is still imposed upon many different groups of people, but especially against the Asian American community in the wake of COVID. You can't help but think about, you know, the rise in, well, not rise, I think maybe the more that people are recognizing the hatred that is put against Asian American citizens at this time. And through looking at it through the lens of the incarceration of the Japanese American population. Can you speak to the genesis of your film?
Yeah, and I also echo everyone in saying congrats everyone and thank you to San Francisco Indie Film Fest for having us. I think, well, I guess I'll start from the beginning. There is a internment camp in Satchel, California called Manzanar. It's right after 395. And for the longest time, there was just a rock there to signify it was there. They had cleared everything out. And every time I drove by there, it just struck me that nothing was going on to signify this actually happened until about 2003, when they actually put in a visitor center there and they reconstructed a guard tower and barracks there. And so I went and it's a really amazing setup there. You could actually see the guard tower. You could sit in the barracks. They were exactly the barracks that were there back in the internment camps back in World War II. And you sit there and you realize, wow, this really happened. And you know, you always know it happened in history, but to actually sit in a place where these people had to live and had to endure really struck me. And going to the visitor center and looking at all these pictures of people, just ordinary Americans who were told that they had to leave all their belongings and basically lose their entire lives just because of the color of their skin was really moving. And I restart, you know, looking at this past few years that everyone has been talking about, you start realizing that this could happen again. And you never think that something like, you know, the Holocaust or something like this could happen again. We thought we learned from those lessons. But in truth, now I think it's revealed that like there's still that kind of hatred out there, like you're mentioning, to all different groups at different times. And to think that this could happen again is really terrifying. And so that's what kind of like got me thinking about making a film about the internment camps, to bring that back to light again. And looking at these stories of all these people that were trapped in these prison camps, essentially. What struck me were themes of like isolation, of desperation, of feeling like no one in this country cares for them, nihilism. And I realized those are the same kind of themes of classic film noirs, where it's like, usually these classic black and whites, people kind of think of Humphrey Bogart and like The Detective and all that. But really the themes of those films is about people who feel like so alienated that they go to a dark place. And so that's where I decided, hey, this actually, the set of film in an internment camp in the 40s would be perfect, a perfect film noir, because these people, what they went through is the same kind of things that they talk about in film noirs. And so my friend and I, who is actually a Japanese American filmmaker and curator at the Japanese American Museum in Los Angeles, he and I wrote this feature script version of it. And I decided, it'd be great to just write like a short film version of it and just shoot it and see, what it looks like. And so that's what happened is we basically, I talked to a bunch of my actor friends who I know are really great, talked to a lot of my people who I've shot with before, and they really liked the idea. We shot the film in like a weekend, and we finished it right before the pandemic happened, actually. And then the pandemic hit, and then I think, it took a while for us to get it released, to send out to festivals. And so that we just sent out to festivals now, and that's where we're at.
Thank you so much. And Evan, last but not least, do you want to speak about your film, which I find to be a breath of fresh air in many ways, of looking at the resilience of youth, of looking at the East Bay. Let's hear it, Tiffany.
Yeah, first, thanks a lot for having me. It's really been a pleasure to hear everyone share so deeply about their projects and how meaningful they are and personal. Yeah, Sunshine City is inspired by my own life and the life of my friends growing up in Berkeley, California. Me and my friend Dylan, who's the co-writer and the producer on the project, we wanted to tell a story that was maybe a little different from how we've seen that demographic of youth, of urban youth before, which is not showing what it was like to live in the vibrancy and the support and the just wild funness of being young, and also having to hold trauma in the body in ways that happen after the impact of the initial events. So there's a lot of movies about like people of color and urban youth that directly show the incidents when people are brutalized by the police, and the ways that oppression works itself out in the systemic racism. And those stories are incredibly important, and we wanted to tell a story about what it's like to hold that experience after the fact, and how, just how like it's the nuances of how it can live in the body, and how sometimes we have to hold them as individuals and continue to just live our lives. And the film really focuses, the main story of it, on the power of the friendship that these young people have for each other, and how even though Mia, the main character, is unable to really speak to them about what's happening to her internally, their support in just continuing to push on through their adventure and get to where they're finally going at the end of the film, and just continuously showing up for each other and sacrificing their own individual needs to be supportive of the group and to like honor their relationship and their friendship, is supportive to her, even though she's not able to be like processing and vocalizing to them what's happening to her internally. So I think particularly being, 18, 19, I remember, not necessarily having the ability to be as vulnerable with my friends as I would have liked to. And so we really wanted to show how that dynamic intersected at that time in life.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, this is all the time we have with such a large group of wonderful filmmakers. But I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Your films are so special. And I'm so excited that our audience has gotten a chance to see them and see them all together, because I think there is like a very lovely way that they are in conversation with one another. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you to our audience.